is very much traceable. Number 2,
Steve, you never washing money, Steve. Steve, come on, that's scamming 101. Alright. Today we have another one from Dancehall Decoded. The white man supplying Jamaican scammers their victims. They are so leads master. Alright, my way must say.
May 28th, 2026, 57-year-old millionaire Steve Dixon gets a knock on his door. He isn't expecting anyone, but he answers anyway, and before he knows it, he is surrounded. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit wire fraud. And it was in that moment he knew exactly why they were there. Steve Dixon was not just an ordinary man with money. In fact, that wasn't even his real name. Because unbeknownst to the rest of the world, he was actually an integral part of an operation responsible for the annual theft of millions of dollars. Because Steve was in direct partnership with many Jamaican scammers and using methods that nobody understood.
Steve. 57 Steve. Well, I guess that the age I man them were scam anyways. The billionaire them, them man they are scam and them all of them probably Steve. So damn Steve.
He would feed them new victims for millions. Names, addresses, every possible sensitive information you could find, he had it. And when those scammers would get a hold of these lead sheets, thousands of grandmothers
Steve working customer service or something. I want to hear more about Steve. What are you...
elderly victims would suffer as a result. His name would even become so known in the Jamaican underworld that one of the biggest songs of the past few years with over 20 million views mentions him literally by name. And this begs the question, how did an old white man manage to become damn near a kingpin in the world of Jamaican scamming? How did he manage to make over $5 million doing this for years without being caught? And how after everything did the authorities eventually catch wind of these Jamaican scams and put an end to the scheme? Well, to understand this, there are a few things that you need to know first. Now, if you know anything about Jamaican scamming, you would know that the one thing every scammer needs is a client. But not just any client. Oh no, they need clients who are vulnerable. Somebody who will not only answer the phone when a complete stranger calls, but also will believe them when they say that they want a prize. And these people are almost always elderly. And Troy Murray knew this, as he was in his 50s and approaching that age himself. But unlike them, he was well versed in the areas of technology. And so when he looked around him, all he saw were a bunch of walking dollar signs and opportunities. Although it's currently unclear what his previous job was, one can only assume it put him in the unique position to have access to so many different types of clients. Perhaps something in the realm of data collection. But regardless, that made him a prime business partner for those in the underworld who could use these kinds of services. And we don't know which Jamaican scammer made the connection first, but once he was introduced into our system, everything changed. Murray would begin operating under the alias of Steve Dixon, and he and his Jamaican partners would form a methodology that was almost too simple. He would take all of the data that he had spent his time collecting and compile it into a long list, a grouping that would...
Where did Steve work? Oh man, Steve must work as him say must some data collection. Steve, why you scam the people them your age, Steve? Oh, usually them old people them fuck over the younger people them. Steve very interesting.
Be locally referred to as a lead sheet, and the price he would give for all of these people's info was typically around $500 US. Some might wonder why pay so much for just a piece of paper, but on each sheet contained at least 1 to 300 names, and if even 10 of those clients were to send the money, these scammers knew that they would be millionaires, making lead sheets some of the most valuable items they could ever get their hands on. And trust me, when I say value, it got so bad to the point that people started murdering each other, with entire gang warfare and the country's murder rate rising because of lottery scamming and the hunting down of others to steal their lead sheets, many of which were created by Steve. As the years went by, the operation not only continued, but it grew. As scamming culture would increase, chopper songs would become the norm amongst the youth of Jamaica, and many people would turn to the life of picking up the banger phone. And by this point, Steve Dixon was making hundreds of thousands every single year. By the time he got his first big paychecks, he decided that he would not follow behind the scammers he was working with by buying flashy things and an expensive lifestyle, but instead investing his money in farm equipment, buying vehicles, tractors, and machinery, even purchasing gold bars with his cash as a method to become immune against inflation. To say this man was methodical and calculated would be an understatement, even going so far as to send some...
really need to know what Steve did do that. What were you... No man, what's Steve job? What did him job before this?
Of the money to a man named Cutter Murray, his own son, so that the paper trail could simply look like a father helping his son pay for his personal expenses. The machine was running smoothly, Steve was getting richer, and something was about to happen that would make it clear just how deeply embedded he was in the world of Jamaican scamming. It was 2022, 6 full years after Steve had begun his operation and made millions of dollars. His lifestyle had changed forever, and thousands of lead sheets had been sent to Jamaica on his behalf. But it was also around this time when another phenomenon would take place. The meteoric rise of one of Jamaica's biggest artists ever, a young man by the name of Raheem Bowes, aka Valiant, hitting the scene with songs like North Carolina and St. Mary. One of his most anticipated...
Valiant snitch man Steve. Oh no. That's a real oh no, guys. Oh no. Oh no. Steve, why is snitch Valiant? Oh no.
Anticipated new bangers was a song called Speed Off, and the first time everyone listened to it, they would reach a part in the song that we never forgot. On the second verse, Valiant would say, Steve just send me the leads, 10 mil a day at the least, me at the definition of a mish. And trust and believe, 3.5 years ago, everybody thought this was just a random name, but after all this time, we would finally learn he was talking about a real person, and only the few scammers who were working with him at the time would have heard that lyric and understood. Around this point,
dog, hold it down. Man, him never hold down nothing.
Steve would have made over $5 million in total since he started the operation. For context, that is over 750 million JMD. And as much as he was enjoying life, kicking his feet up on the farm with his millions of dollars, eventually for the first time, he would run into an issue. After so many payments had been going through for Steve and working out after all this time somehow, some of the services would eventually catch on to some suspicious activity and begin to block him. After one failed, he went to another, but then that would catch on too, and another until eventually he was out of options. And to be honest, for most people, at this point they would look at the fact that they literally already have millions in investments, assets, and cold hard cash and just say, hey, I think I've done enough, let me live out the rest of my life. But perhaps Steve Dixon was feeling like,
damn, Mike on charge. Damn.
Walter White. He liked it, he was good at it, and
let's just hope it's not dead and can make it to the video.
He had no intention of turning back. And so after exhausting every possible option, he finally came up with the insane idea to tell his Jamaican clients that, hey, instead of sending money to me, you guys can just send me prepaid gift cards instead. It may not have been cold hard cash, but it worked. And the best part, it was pretty much untraceable. Steve was back in the game, continuing to reign as the Caucasian king of the Jamaican scamming empire. And he would genuinely get to enjoy this for another few years. But actions are not done in a vacuum.
All of the Jamaican mafia blocks. That is such. That. Never mind.
Better or for worse, in this world, we do in fact have consequences. Around 2023, there would come a day where people involved in the mail system would come to notice some suspicious activity. These people are known as postal investigators, and yes, that is absolutely a thing. And unfortunately for Steve, one of the most important priorities on the list of postal inspectors is elder fraud. So when they noticed even the slightest smidge of strange activity coming from Steve to Jamaica, the case they started building was enormous. And nobody knew it at the time, but the downfall was already well in motion. January 2026, Troy Murray aka Steve is minding his own business when all of a sudden the entire atmosphere changed. Before he could tell what was going on, the authorities, US Postal Inspection Service, and the US Marshals Fugitive Task Force appeared out of absolutely nowhere and had this man surrounded. And what would ensue later would show you that this man was actually nowhere near as smart as we all gave him credit for. After the case would make some more progress and the government would do their breakdown, we would come to find out why Steve even got caught in the first place. First of all, the quote-unquote major financial assets that he bought, aka his farm equipment and tractors and all of that, apparently there was no special method to how he bought them. He just did, which obviously means it is very much traceable. Number two,
Steve, you never washing money, Steve. Steve, come on, that's scamming 101. Just wash the money, Steve. What do you mean? You can't just make some big Steve. Jaja, Steve. Jaja. It's blaming upon the age, man. The age that catch up on him.
Money transferring services, apparently the accounts were very much easy to be traced back to him. They were his accounts. And if they're getting blocked 24/7, obviously you are probably the person who's guilty. Number 3, apparently the money that he sent to his son was not just father-son money for personal expenses. Apparently Steve sent his son, and I kid you not, $1.6 million for the purposes of quote-unquote property and funding businesses. Of course, as
Oh yeah, when you would ever tell them where they get $1.6 million to send your son? Even if I overtime, something add up to $1.6 million. Oh, Steve, come on now, Steve. You piss me off, Steve. Steve, really? Really, Steve?
soon as this massive amount of cash popped into his inbox, the feds were on him immediately. And lo and behold, Steve's very own son, Cutter Murray, was also apprehended and slapped with a charge for money laundering. And number 4, which probably has to be the dumbest part in the entire equation, we all know Steve was using methods to communicate with these Jamaican scammers over the phone, right? But tell me why we would go on to find out that these phone calls, emails, and text messages were all unprotected communication and just normal text he's just sending like he's talking to his friends. You can't make this shit up, my boy. You can't make.
Yo, me think that Steve the tech savvy. Steve, come on. Steve. Really, Steve, really. I guess I saw it always going on. I always get catching in some silly way.
It up a blood clot. And just a few days ago, on May 28th, 2026, Troy Murray, aka Steve Dixon, was officially sentenced to 10 years in prison and an obligation to now repay the full amount of $5,214,688.48. Every last dollar. In the end, Steve made
that. Me get scammed one time and I think me obligated to a certain amount of money for real, cause it's this one time, NCB, well not NCB, me get a link, I'm press the link, although I should press the link, I want me press the link. But them couldn't get the money off of my account, but them did that in my account. So what they did was them buy credit with all of the money within my account. Be a credit, just credit, done all the money upon credit, cause them could send off the money cause them would need a pin and just buy be a credit. So I don't know if my number is up on a lead sheet or something, and you know, so I don't know if Steve's supposed to give me some sort of compensation or Steve, let me know how I go. If you get a piece of that money, they don't. For real.
His name and changed his life for the time that it lasted. But when your lifestyle is built on the destruction of others, don't be surprised if one day others come to destroy you. But speaking of somebody else who endured
that deep. Sorry, me pause him transition now other video. Very cool, but that deep.
downfall in the criminal world. Dancehall artist Squash was recently taken from his amazing career and locked up on many charges in America by the FBI themselves. And if you want to learn the full story of how that happened, click the video on your screen right now. Subscribe to the channel for more content, and as always, the dancehall has been decoded.
So I think that one year, him put the two channel them as like collaboration. As a kind of like a mix of the two type of video them. Where I go for, you know, it's like the format kinda ish more decoded 2.0, but the topic and you know everything behind it are more dancehall decoded. So I guess why that's why I'm putting on collaboration. Or ain't probably just on it. But that's I thought though. But that's the video. Let me know anything down below. Good video by Dancehall Decoded as usual. Thanks for watching. Bye.